CNN's Kaitlan Collins asked White House Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt about the Trump-appointed judge who ruled that Trump's justification for sending the National Guard into Portland is based on assumptions that are quote-unquote untethered from the facts. The judge even suggested that Trump is confused and maybe he thinks that the COVID-era protests were still happening in Portland because Fox News keeps showing footage from those protests.
A federal judge over the weekend that the president had appointed to the bench in his first term in office basically argued that he could not deploy other states' National Guards to Portland, basically said that it was untethered, his argument, to what is actually happening on the ground. Which local officials in Portland have said that the National Guard is needed there?
With all due respect to that judge, I think her opinion is untethered in reality and in the law. The president is using his authority as Commander-in-Chief, U.S. Code 12406, which clearly states that the president has the right to call up the National Guard in cases where he deems it's appropriate.
So here is Trump speaking about his plans to invade Portland last month.
On the National Guard, have you decided which city that you want to go into next?
Yeah, I have. I have. I'm not going to say it now, but yeah, I have. We're going to go into another place and straighten it out. And I will say this: I watched today. I didn't know that was continuing to go on, but Portland is unbelievable. What's going on in Portland? The destruction of the city.
Are you going into Portland?
Well, I'm going to look at it now because I didn't know that was still going on. This has been going on for years.
Have you decided you
So we'll be able to stop that very easily. We'll be able to stop it. But, you know, that was not on my list, Portland. But when I watched television last night, this has been going on. You wouldn't be standing if you were the mayor. You would be. Can you imagine what they're doing? They're walking in throwing smoke bombs into stores. These are paid terrorists, okay?
He's very good at this stuff. He went on to say that he knows that these are paid leftist agitators because their signs were obviously not made in basements. They were printed at print shops, which are very expensive. He also thinks that flights cost $2, so his understanding of general affordability of things is very, very questionable. Also, the idea that protesters are just weirdos in basements is indicative of his very limited understanding of the American people. Besides, a handwritten sign can be made at a kitchen table. Protesters don't need to hide out in basements. More recently, just before announcing the federalization of the Oregon National Guard, Trump said that it was anarchy out in Portland, and he said that Portland is under the quote-unquote radical left's reign of terror. And speaking of reality, I mean, I guess it's really just a matter of perspective, isn't it? Judges and the actual residents of Portland say that Trump is, in fact, detached from reality, and in typical Trump fashion, he said, "I'm not detached from reality, they are." He said in a news release, "While Democrat politicians deny reality, it's obvious what's happening in Portland isn't protest, it's premeditated anarchy that has scarred the city for years, leaving officers battered, citizens terrorized, and property defaced." And sure, I'm sure Portland has seen better days. Like any major city, it has its good areas and it has its bad areas. It's one of the many dichotomies that govern our lives. There are rich people and there are poor people. There are rich areas and there are poor areas. There is clean, there is dirty, there is safe, there is unsafe. You just have to hope that you can strike the best balance possible so that coexisting amidst these various levels of diversity can generally happen. But as we all know, the solution to cleaning up bad parts of cities is never to over-police those areas. We have seen time and time again that protests don't often turn violent until the cops turn up and unleash near deadly, if not deadly force against the protesters. Rubber bullets sound as though they are more humane than actual bullets, but really just barely. They are still incredibly dangerous. Tear gas is a weapon of war. Even just standing in front of protesters fully armed with guns and sticks is understandably threatening because it's supposed to be. It's introducing deadly violence into a situation that, as far as we know, would otherwise have been peaceful. But Trump and his administration doesn't actually want to clean up these cities that they're targeting. Trump doesn't want things to be better for the people of Portland or Chicago or DC or LA. He's punishing these people for not voting for him, and he's attempting to normalize the use of American forces against the American people. They said that that was their plan during that weird Hegseth/Trump address to our senior members of the military. Okay, so let's check back in with Karoline Leavitt and see how she responded to Collins' question pertaining to Trump being untethered from the facts.
If you look at what has happened in Portland, Oregon, for more than 100 nights, I was talking to our law enforcement team about it this morning, for more than 100 days, night after night after night, the ICE facility has been really under siege by these anarchists outside. They have been disrespecting law enforcement. They've been inciting violence. We saw, again, a guillotine rolled out in front of this federal building. And so the president wants to ensure that our federal buildings and our assets are protected. And that's exactly what he's trying to do. And ultimately, in the case in Los Angeles, that judge ruled in the Ninth Circuit, that panel of judges ruled that those troops could remain and that the president was well within his authority to do so. So we are appealing that decision. As you know, we expect a hearing on it pretty quickly. And we're very confident in the president's legal authority to do this. And we're very confident we will win on the merits of the law.
But no local officials that you can point to that have said we need the National Guard? Because I spoke to the police chief of Portland last week. He said that the president's claims just don't match up with what's happening on the ground.
I would encourage you as a reporter to go on the ground and to take a look at it for yourself, because there's been many members of the press, not press in this room, but independent journalists, some of whom we'll be inviting to the White House very soon to share their stories, because they have been in the middle of these riots and they have witnessed the anarchy that is taking place night after night. It's on video. You should play it on your show. You have a great opportunity on prime time on CNN to show your audience. Yeah, but you're probably talking to partisan Democrat officials who are opposed to everything this president does. You should also ask the people who live in Portland. We've actually heard from many members of the community who have said that this is complete civil disobedience. It's a mess. It's been loud. It's been troubling for neighbors in the community who are just trying to live peacefully. And these people are not there to peacefully protest. They are there to cause mayhem and havoc.
For the record, Trump didn't seem to care very much when his own supporters rolled out their own guillotine on January 6th. No National Guard that day. Was the guillotine protected under freedom of speech on January 6th? It must have been, along with all of those signs calling for the hanging of the sitting vice president. And to my earlier point, much of the footage that I've seen of trouble in these cities that Trump has targeted clearly shows ICE agents targeting, kidnapping, and physically harming residents who oftentimes are not even protesting, they're just there. To target and threaten and kidnap a populace with no warrants, no due process, to raid homes in the middle of the night and zip-tie children, to deliberately create an environment of fear within a city and then play the victim when the residents of that area inevitably fight back against you, that is pathetic. But people like Kristi Noem can't seem to understand why the residents of these cities that Republicans like her have demonized and disparaged constantly in the press and then terrorized on the ground don't seem to want her or her ICE agents around. People are just so mean to ICE agents. Where is the humanity? These ICE agents, after all, are just doing their jobs. They're just doing as they're told, right?
And in fact, they don't even let our ICE officers and our Border Patrol officers use restrooms in facilities. Those men and women were telling us that they have to figure out even where they can go sit down for 5 minutes to have lunch or to use a restroom throughout their shift and their break. So they've made it a very difficult situation.
Yes, the heroic shop and restaurant owners denying ICE agents access into their private places of business are the ones creating difficult and hostile situations in these ICE-ravaged cities, not the ICE agents themselves. Still, with all of the footage documenting what is going on in these American cities, Republicans who still support this administration either aren't seeing it or they really just do not get it. They don't understand why these American cities wouldn't want their cities to be cleaned up, or they don't understand why pulling people off of the street and throwing them into the backs of vans is a problem if these people are illegal immigrants anyway. Of course, no one knows if they're actually here illegally or not because, as I mentioned, there are no warrants and there is no due process here. Truly, where is the humanity? Many on the MAGA side seem to be waking up from what's really going on in their country and who is to blame for it. And this is after years of telling everyone that woke is bad. But really, this awakening that they're going through is really just not happening fast enough. How deep into your psychosis do you have to be to see what's happening and to not be affected by it? How deep into your bubble do you have to be to not even see what's happening in the first place? I am going to be such a millennial right now, but I just keep hearing Chandler's voice in my head, begging people who are on the verge of getting it to just get there faster. All right, that's it for me. If you got anything out of this, please like the video and subscribe to the channel for more. Thanks.